What's going on, guys? Austin from Ohio Screwdrivers. Today we are doing a workshop video on our 1999 Mitsubishi Eclipse. This is a second generation DSM. I actually just put on a set of fourth generation Mitsubishi Eclipse wheels and new tires. I changed the spark plugs yesterday, new fuel pump yesterday, and then today, which is what I'm going to show you today, we're going to be doing the injectors on a 420A engine, which the injectors are pretty much encased with the intake manifold, and so that means it's hard to get to. If you have anything in the way of that, it all needs to come off. Pretty much you have to take off your coil pack. If you have a strut bar in your car, you have to take that off. I did. I mean, I guess you don't have to, but it'll get in the way. If you have your cold air intake, mine comes off two different separate pieces. So I took the first piece of that off, so that's not in my way. You got to unhook all your vacuum lines. There's a couple other lines you got to unhook. So there's wiring harnesses that get in the way. So I already have all of that taken off. It's pretty simple. The only tools you really need is a 10mm wrench. That way you can take off your coil pack, and then just like a flathead screwdriver, Phillips screwdriver, some needle nose pliers so you can take off some clips, and a 1/2 inch socket so you can take off the two bolts that hold on the fuel rail. And then there's going to be a bracket, just one sec. This bracket right here, it bolts down to the bottom of your intake manifold, and then up here at the top, it clips onto the top of your intake manifold. These are held on by 1/2 inch bolts. So, got to take that off. And it sits right in here. There's also your throttle cable. That's in the way, so you're gonna have to undo that. I know that's kind of, you don't want to get into that because you're releasing tension on your cable, but you got to get it out of the way, otherwise you won't be able to get down to those bolts. If you want to do it while the engine is in the car, if you have the engine out, pretty simple. All you got to do is take off the intake manifold, and you can just undo it right there. It's real simple. You don't have to mess with all that stuff. But there's still a couple of lines we'll have to take off, wiring harness or two, some vacuum lines. But with that being said, I will now show you the progress that I've made so far. Okay, so coil pack is gone, the bracket is off. Right here is where your throttle cable line goes. There's a hose that comes off here and a couple other vacuum lines that get in the way. Right down there is the fuel rail, which, as you can see, I already have it unbolted, and I already have one of the injectors out. Now, because this is a 4-cylinder, there's 4 injectors. I shouldn't have to tell you that, but just in case. So there's 4 injectors on it. I already have one out. Now make sure when you're doing this that you do not have a hot engine, because when you take the injectors out, you're going to be leaking gasoline onto your engine. So you don't want your engine to be hot, because you can cause a fire. It's just really hazardous. So make sure your engine's cool. Luckily though, the back of the engine kind of stays a little cooler than the front, because the exhaust manifold's up here in the front, and that gets extremely hot. But still, nonetheless, keep your engine cool while you're doing this. Preferred at a time of the day where it's not really warm, you know, like it is here in Ohio. It's pretty hot today. So I'm gonna, what we got is, I'm gonna show you the injectors that I pulled out, and we'll get to it. Okay, so this is what we got. This is the injector that came out of the Eclipse. So, that injector. You get rid of that sucker. We just pulled out injector number 2. It is almost the same equivalent wear. It's not all cracked at the bottom on that boot, but almost the same wear and tear. To be honest, it's very likely that I cracked the boot on the other one when I was pulling it out. But nonetheless, the tear on them are pretty equal, which is good, because you kind of want all of them to have the same wear and tear, because you always want to replace them as a set. You never just want to do one injector at a time, because then your engine will be running uneven, and you don't want that. So make sure you replace all your injectors at one time to get it over with. Your motor will be running smooth and all in sync. You don't want it to run uneven. So make sure you do them all at once. I'm going to go ahead and pull the other 2, and then I will get right back with you guys. Okay. So right now we're looking at all 4 old injectors. As you can see, they have all seen their better days. So all these need to go. I don't want to clean these. I don't want to try to put them back in. I just want to get them out of the car, put fresh ones in, and also make sure that you keep and save these clips. You don't want to break them. You don't want to lose them, because they will go back on the top of these injectors, or on top of the new ones. Some sets come with them, but you just don't lose them just in case. So there you go. Okay, so here's the old fuel injector, and here's a new fuel injector. So we're gonna go ahead and put these ones in, and the injector is gonna go. All right, so there's an injector. That's one of the old ones, and here's where the new one's gonna go. It's gonna pop right down into the hole. Okay. Also important, each injector that you're gonna put in, you're gonna want to make sure that you dab it in a cup of oil, or a cup of gas. You just wanna get it all nice and all lubed up. That way, you know you can put it in with a good seal. So, as you can see, I had the strut bar back on. I have my coil pack back in, wires, new plugs, my vacuum hoses, my throttle cable is back hooked up. So right down in here is where right there's the fuel rail, that black bar that goes across right down there, and that is where the fuel injector is hooked back up. So there's 2 bolts there and down there. So pretty much, now that I got those back in, all 4 new injectors, all 4 new spark plugs, new coil pack. So now that we got that, everything is put back together. As you can see, it's running and it sounds good. It's not missing. So there you go. So that is how you do the injector change on a 1999, or technically 95 through 99 420A engine, RSGS space Eclipse. Thank you, and like and subscribe.